Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Hey. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Yeah. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Yeah. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Ja.
I mean, yeah.
And I am Aston and a pleasant welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is our program, Friday Night Debate, a program dedicated to discussing, I should say, debating the issues that matter to our country, Liberia. In today's debate, we are focusing on two major topics. President Boakai's U.S. invitation by the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, and Mr. Boakai or President Boakai's fight against corruption is raising a lot of eyebrows, and there are disagreements, and this is a debate. There are others who believe that President Boakai is doing well and that he's going after people. Other reports say need to be brought in and ask questions regarding some irregularities about their financial dealings at the time they were holding positions of power in Liberia. So again, our focus for today's debate is clear. President Boakai's invitation by President Donald Trump, the Unity Party is excited about this invitation. 5 African leaders being invited, only 5 African leaders, and President Boakai having to make that list. The Unity Party believes this is monumental and this is a game changer, and they have so many beautiful and colorful words to say about this. This is not new. Any leader can be invited. What does it mean for Liberia? How does that change anything for Liberia? Well, the debaters are seated and they are ready. Joining us from the beautiful country of Canada is an Islamic scholar, a debater and panelist here at Focus on Liberia, Mr. A. Boakai Dukle. Mr. Dukle, welcome to Friday Night Debate. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to tonight's debate.
All right. Also joining us is a young man, William Gibson, who is well suited to discuss this topic, debate this topic, by the way. Mr. Gibson, welcome. Long time no see. How you been?
Yes, thanks, Mr. John. I've been doing well. Hope you are as well.
Don't make me, do something for you to pay fine. This is Mr. C.
Yes, my apologies, Mr. C. It's been so long. My apologies.
All right, that's okay, brother. So again, folks, in cyberspace, those who are listening to us via Facebook or YouTube, we will ask you to do us a favor to share the broadcast. This is a debate. As a people, we need to debate national issues in a very sober and reflective way, so that leaders who are charged with the responsibility of making decisions that will impact our country, we always say positively, but sometimes negatively, these decisions impact us. So debating them bring clarity to the issues and also make it easier for national leaders to make decisions that benefit the country. For far too long now, our country in particular, whenever we elect a president coming to America, getting an invitation from the US president, is as though it is the mastermind to all the woes we have in Liberia. And so supporters of that president, of that political party, will make a whole lot of beautiful noise about it. As though when that visit is made, when that president sees the president of America and comes to America out of the White House, whatever the occasion will be, our trouble will be over. I'm going to historicize this a little bit. Ellen Johnson was the darling of the West. She came to America many times. She was at the White House. She met President Barack Obama. And then during her term, we have the United Nations in Liberia. The army was there. The whole world came to Liberia. They left. Liberia is poor. We don't have good roads. Can't think of anything we can boast of as a country. The point I'm making is, if meeting a US president can solve our problem, then maybe that the problem should have been solved by now. So to see people celebrating, got me thinking, are we looking at it critically? But maybe they have a point. The United States is the most powerful country on earth, economically strong, and they can do so more good, and that is the reality. But why have we benefited from the relationship? How have our leaders engaged them? This is not the first time, and they will not be the first time. And yet, when it comes to electricity, we are nowhere. When it comes to the provision of water, we are nowhere. The reason is, I would argue that we have been looking in the wrong places, or maybe our approach has been wrong in dealing with the United States and other world powers. We have to collaborate, I agree. And so this excitement, I want to get the reason why this excitement is all about. Seated and ready, Mr. Dukley, let me bring you in. President Boakai needs an invitation from the U.S. president. The Unity Party is making a whole big deal about it. Say, hey, Liberia now it's been recognized on the global stage. This is in addition to Liberia becoming a member of the United Nations Security Council, a non-permanent member, by the way. And they say, hey, Liberia is becoming the Liberia it used to be. What do you see? What is your reaction to this news and how the Unity Party sees it? Are they looking at it profoundly or not?
Well, Anthony, in order for you to better understand this invitation, is noteworthy to put the invitation itself into context.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the countries that are invited, with the exception of Gabon, you will find that all the countries are from West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking at things from the perspective of the Unity Party partisans and their supporters, you can see why this invitation will be one of something that is considered celebratory, or something that they want to speak about as if it's got a lot to do with the leadership of President Joseph Boakai, and having just recently been elected to the United Nations Security Council, non-permanent members. And so, yes, of course, they would tout this as success of the Joseph Boakai foreign policy. But the fact of the matter is that if you look at the historical nature of the relationship between Liberia and the United States, United States has always been where our presidents and even our government is always interested in focusing their foreign policy. And by that, I mean, they always want to court the person in the White House to highlight the historical natures of our relationship, and based on that relationship to court some favors. Now, with Donald Trump, the kind of president he is, they are calling this a meeting where they want to talk about trade and investment. But I don't know if Liberia has a lot to offer in a way of, trade with the United States beyond what we already have with the United States. But with that said, I think is something that we can look up to see how best this can be reflected on the Liberian foreign policy. But you see, I'm saying the other players or the other countries that are invited is Gabon, Senegal, and Mauritania and Guinea-Bissau. And those countries are within the sub-region of West Africa. And with the exception of Gabon, Gabon is the only country that is an oil-producing country. They do have lots of natural resources in the way of oil. And so, yes, this should be something that every country should be looking forward to have a trade with the United States, because the United States market is one of the biggest market. The United States is one of the countries with tremendous influence on international trade. And so anyone who has a trading relationship with the United States is significant, because we are trying to attract foreign direct investments in our country. We're trying to bring in as many as possible. Now, the problem with all of that is that the elements that must come together to create that conducive environment to have these foreign direct investors is one of a challenge, because Joseph Boakai has not demonstrated sufficiently to these foreign investors that the environment in Liberia is conducive for investing. And by that, I mean in the ways of the investment climate itself, as well as the law and order and security and all the other things that must come together before you can have an investor willing to gamble or willing to take that leap into Liberia. But I mean, overall, I would say, having Joseph Boakai come to the White House based on the invitation of Donald Trump is something that, yes, is worthy of celebration.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson, Mr. Ducler ended his argument by saying this is worthy of celebration. Do you feel that way? If you agree with him or not, what is there to celebrate here? Is there anything new you see?
I mean, I'm a little confused. I would say I don't want to speak fully confidently in terms of the fact of we don't know what this administration in terms of Donald Trump is really focused on. I know within the publication that was put out about the countries that'll be in this closed door meeting is really particularly talking about economic and security partnerships. So I'm not sure if Trump, based off of the way he's dealt with other countries that he's engaged with in the past and even present, it's been a lot of you bring people to the table, but it's sort of like, you're choosing what the conversation will be. You're telling them what this will be, and either they allow it or they won't. I know it's going to be a lot of conversations around the economic and security partnerships to move from being aid dependent to more so focusing on how you can have a strategic partnership focused on resources that you have within your nation coming and building a partnership with America. But I don't want to speak too confidently and say that this is something that can garner a lot of possibilities for Liberia because of the leader that you have that's leading these conversations in the United States. Trump is an unpredictable person. He's someone who has already stated from his first term that he doesn't see the continent of Africa in the best light, or any developing nation as a nation that is to be respected or revered in any kind of way. So I don't find a lot of confidence in this. It's great that we're at the table again, but I will look to see what will come out of that. And if President Boakai and his team that'll be coming will really push for us to have that presence, to have Americans understand that Liberia is ready for business, is open for business, and the climate that we're creating will protect the investments of Americans and other foreigners who are trying to come into the country. But as of right now, I can speak confidently and say this is going to be great for Liberia.
Anthony Freeman, should anybody, let alone a government, a Liberian citizen, a Liberian government, a Liberian political party, celebrate an invitation to a Liberian president from the United States president to come to America? Is that something, in any stretch of imagination, that should be celebrated, and why, you think?
Well, it depends on what have been negotiated beforehand. Because normally when presidents travel, or sometimes there is an advanced teams that will go ahead to do the negotiation, so that when the two presidents meet, basically it's for signing ceremonies. But the US government doesn't really have control over the private sector investment, so to speak. The US itself is in a lot of financial trouble. The last I heard, their debt is 37 trillion. I don't know how many zeros beyond 37 trillion. But for those who are math buffs, I think there's a lot of zeros. So I don't know. What happened in Liberia is that we have lowered our standards so much so that nothing is happening. So every little thing becomes something to celebrate. I mean, an invitation is not a reason for celebration. And if I'm mistaken, you can correct me. If you go to the White House and you sign a protocol, or you sign an investment agreement with some private sector actors or something like that, then you celebrate. But a mere invitation, I mean, it doesn't really say anything. And secondly, I'm of the school of thought that really feel that you cannot get development or economic growth from outside. It has to start from inside. It generates inside, and then the outside people see what is going on and they want to participate. But Liberians, I think we keep making a mistake to think that somehow investment opportunity is some kind of charity game. It is not a charity game. At least for the private sector actors, it's not a charity game. The US government can decide for political reason they want to build a structure in Liberia or do something. But the private sector actors, the investors, are not going to come to Liberia unless there is a reason that they believe they can, one, make a profit, and two, their profits can be protected while they are here. If you don't have those things, just kiss the whole idea of investment goodbye.
Let's look at the focus of this closed-door meeting with these 4 African leaders and see where our nation fits. They said the purpose is to strengthen economic partnership, to address regional security challenges, especially terrorism in the Sahel and Gulf of Guinea, to promote energy cooperation, infrastructure investment, and migration dialogue. These are some of the things that they are looking at. And I think where Liberia may fade here is the energy cooperation infrastructure investment.
What do you mean energy cooperation?
Well, that is the question. That is the question I want to ask. So,
no, because cooperation means you have something, I have something, and we're trying to work together to benefit each other. If I don't know if I'm got the correct definition of cooperation. So, in terms of energy, what does Liberia have to as the basis for the cooperation? The last I heard, most people in Liberia say they don't even get LEC. If anything on our list, maybe it's terrorism. And the reason why Liberia could be relevant is because
about infrastructure investment.
Man, look, fuck. The only people who will bring infrastructure development to Liberia are Liberians. The idea, look, America been engaged with Liberia since 1847. So if there was going to be infrastructure development, then Liberia is like Dubai. I mean, come to think of it, or maybe Joburg. If you look at the length of years that we've been engaging with with the US, maybe it's 1847. If you want to delay it, maybe it's 1860. Liberia should be like Joburg. So I don't know what it would take our people to learn that only hard work, sacrifice, and prudent financial management is going to develop Liberia. We keep thinking that somehow we can go to China, we can go to Brussels, and we can come to New York, and there is money on the ground for us to pick up. The only thing I see over there is terrorism. And the reason why I see it is because there is a lot of pushback from African countries led by Ibrahim Traore and the other guys who split off from ECOWAS to rebuff Western countries. And so if America look at West Africa, they know that the only place that they can really come and they sure will get cooperation on terrorism matter is Liberia. So if there is any reason why the Americans are going to call you to talk to you, is because of terrorism, and they believe that they can talk to them. Forget about thinking that the Americans are calling you because they are interested in you. Just discount that. If they call you to Washington, it means there's something the Americans want for you. You got to decide what you want from America. That's left for you. But they are not calling you because they are interested in Monrovia or in your development. They are calling you because they believe that you have something that they can get out of you. So, Liberians need to understand. They have done that. They have gone around. They have gone to World Bank, all kinds of places, to all kinds of loans and whatever. It does not negate prudent management of your country, political management, economic management, and so forth. I don't see anything in that list other than terrorism. Maybe the US want to carry on some military operation. They need space in West Africa, and they know 100% that if they make an offer to Liberians will get it, because now they can't go Senegal, which they usually cooperate with. They can't go Burkina, they can't go Mali, and a lot of other places are getting hostile to them. So Liberia is the only place. That's all I see. But I don't see anything else other than thinking that, oh, they're going to sign multi-million-dollar contract and they're going to say, oh, Liberia, yes, free money. No.
Thank you. You may have a point there. As you are aware, I think the U.S. sent a military delegation that was in Liberia recently. They had a conversation with the Ministry of Defense and the AFL. I'm not saying to suggest that, yeah, you are telling the truth. Well, maybe you have a point there. Mr. Dukley, this is not, it's like that is one thing a Liberian president must do to be seen as a president. Just meet the president of America. Konyene made an argument that since 1847, we've been involved with the Americans. There is not a single thing you can point at in our country and say, yes, at least this is up to standard. Not our public buildings. Not our public buildings. I'm not suggesting that America's responsibility, but our leaders make it to look that if only we can have audience with these people, our problems will be solved. And it's not that we have not had audience with them. It's not that we have not talked to them. And here we are. 175 plus years counting, we still think the solution is to sit in a warehouse with the US president. And so I don't see the excitement. But now America is saying, look, this is about energy cooperation and infrastructure investment. And then another thing they say is migration dialogue. I don't know what is that. What is your understanding of these things the U.S. government throwing out there, as the agenda for the discussion? And what can the Liberian government do here? What is the Liberian government trying to do with this meeting? What is it the president trying? What can the president actually achieve in this meeting that could not be achieved many years ago to make anything better as they are making it to look?
Yeah, but you see, Anthony, you have to also put this in context here. Remember, uh, not too long ago, the United States had put some countries on a list where they are expecting them to improve certain standard of vetting people coming to the United States from those countries, and that's all part of the security arrangement that they're trying to go through. And so you have to keep that in mind as one part of the puzzle there. And so in the case of Liberia, again, when I even talk about people celebrating, and I don't mean that in a sense what we are celebrating because something is going to be achieved, but our foreign policy metrics that we have established is usually based on how quickly or how warm our relationship with the United States is. I mean, that's how we have always formulated our foreign policy. And so to have, if you remember, the CDC government, they lobby very, very hard to get a White House visit by George Weah to come to the White House, and they even went as far as hiring a lobby. Uh, uh, sorry, a lobbying company so that these guys can lobby so that George Weah can have a visit in the White House. And so I'm only trying to tell you this so that you get the sense how we formulate and how we look at our foreign policy vis-a-vis the United States. In other words, if a president comes into office and he or she doesn't make a trip to the White House, it's almost like that individual presidency is considered, it's like a failure. So with that said, remember the United States is still in talks with the Republic of Liberia to have some kind of a military presence in Liberia, and I think the discussion is still ongoing. And like the consular, our landed consular just said, before this invitation was sent out, our foreign minister did meet with some staffers at the State Department, even though I find that very humiliating in a way, where our foreign minister did not meet the Secretary of State or Deputy Secretary of State, and so. But again, these things, when it comes to the United States and Liberia in particular, we have a very little say as to what happens. Most of the time, these things are pre-planned on the side of the United States, and it's put forward to us. Usually, maybe we'll suggest one or two things, but it's usually what the United States has proposed that happens. And so, again, with all the distraction and all the bad news that has been going on in Liberia, to have Liberia on the Security Council seat and to have the United States invite our president, these are worthy distractions to sort of showcase what they are doing, how this is going to impact on Liberia. But in concrete sense, I wouldn't think there's going to be anything tangible that's going to be reflective on the success of the foreign policy of Joseph Boakai. But again, like I said, this is just all part of the way they want to present it to the Liberian people. Again, like I said, historically, we have always modeled our foreign policy on the nature of our relationship with the United States. And so this is just part of that. Except that Donald Trump is a very transactional president, is a very unpredictable president when it comes to foreign policy that are related to Africa. And so remember, there are lots of heavyweight African countries that were not part of this this meeting. So that goes to tell you the basis upon which these countries were choosing to come to the White House. So Liberia as a nation, I don't see anything tangible coming out of this meeting. But the antics looks good. The overall presentation looks good for the Joseph Boakai presidency. Factoring in all the things that have happened, all the bad news on the corruption front, and and all the things that is happening in Liberia. So this is a welcome distraction for the UP government.
Thank you. Let us welcome Mr. Leo Johnson, joining us from Canada as well. Leo, welcome.
Thank you, Anthony, and greetings to everyone. Good to see everybody on. Yeah.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I've been listening in the back very patiently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Leo, critics of governments will say, well, yeah, they are again, two governments are here, the U.S. government, Trump in particular inviting a few African leaders to score political points and make a statement. And then on the other hand, there goes Liberian government now. Oh, America is a sweet name. It's a glorious name in the ears of Liberians. And so now there is another Liberian president seeing the U.S. president. They say this is all just showmanship, shake hands, and then morale. And at the end of the day, we're back to reality and nothing comes out. Is that how you see it?
Not necessarily. Some of that is at play, but not necessarily from my end. I think that's a fundamental mistake most people make when they think about this. And I think some of the previous speakers may have hinted at some of them, but I like to sharpen it a little more. You are invited, whether you like it or not. America is by far the most important country on planet Earth, period. Doesn't matter who the president is or not. They are the most important country on Earth. And with that comes enormous power or positioning or leveraging. I think what countries like Liberia, like ours, have failed to do is, how do you leverage that within your context and now what the country does for you? I think most of the time, we've been so used to this aid model that it's always about, oh, what new aid package is being announced. Remember, this is the same President Trump that just said USAID is of no good use, right? Completely got at it. So you're coming to the White House. What worries me the most is the fundamental question I keep asking. What does Liberia have to sell? Right? You're coming to a place for a man who see everything through the lens of business, however you take it, whether it's diplomacy, whether it's politics or whatever. For him, it's what's in it for me. So for you, you need to be also hedging and leveraging. How can I give him what he wants and get what I want at the same time? I mean, you've seen President Trump negotiate publicly, and you know the way he kind of goes about the way he sees the world. So for me, we're still running around with this tired old story that we got gold, we got diamond, we got iron ore. That's a tired story. That story does not make sense. The question is, what I haven't still seen, and I may be wrong, people can educate me on it. What is Liberia's value proposition on the table? That, for me, I haven't seen anything that uniquely makes us stand out to be like, wow, President Trump gathering, most of the time, there are going to be business people at that meeting for several different reasons, right? There will be people around. They're not going to be looking at who has enough iron ore and rubber and diamond under the ground. They are going to be looking at who brings the most value added and how can you position that to leverage what you need. I don't think Liberia, for me, again, I could be wrong, has done the work over the decades that is ripe for the taking in that way. We are still fishing around to see what we catch. We throw gold, we throw iron ore, we throw rubber, we throw this, hoping that something will catch, which is why we continue to struggle with the type of investors that we see coming to Liberia. So for me, I think that if those on President Boakai's team right now with that invitation should be sitting down to really unpack and say, what is the value proposition here? And how can we present it that makes us stand out in such a unique way that we force somebody to look at us and say, you know what? I think there's some unique opportunities here. I haven't heard it, but if I was on President Boakai's team, and just simple things like the type of research that's required, the type of data organization that's required, because money will go where money can be made at the end of the day. Money will not go where money struggles to be made. In Liberia right now, electricity and power, we are unable to provide it. Stable drinking water, clean pipe and water, we are unable to provide it. Enumerating our population, we're not able to even count our own people. Travels, Liberia is one of the most expensive countries to travel to in the whole world, period. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Let's look at business, transitioning business, moving capital. To move big money from outside of Liberia into Liberia is a World War III. Because Liberia is listed as a financially high-risk country. When you go to do wire transfer money in Canada at the bank, the form they gave you at the bottom of the form is listed that be careful how you're sending this transaction, especially money over 100,000, 200,000, because they consider Liberia to be a money laundering hub, a high-risk financial country. How are we dealing with drug trafficking in the country? And lastly, do we have the skilled labor force? I keep asking people this. If Toyota, like Toyota did in Ghana right now, looking at setting up one of their assembly plants. If Toyota, a big corporation, was to say, I want to come to Liberia right now to set up shop, do we have the skilled labor force? Do we have the educational institutions competent enough to deliver the skilled labor force? I said, no, we don't. And those are the
Leo, the U.S. is inviting Liberia. What is the U.S. looking for? I mean, we all see our country. You first of all, you mentioned the old tire story about we get gold, we get diamond. Some people even say we have oil, and that is our story. And another story, well, we get from war, the war did. So if America is inviting the U.S., America has a reason. What you think if Liberia has nothing to offer, why is America inviting Liberia, other than to score political point?
I would tell you this. I don't know President Trump's mind. I'm going to make my gestures here because none of us know. But I would say this to you. Liberia has a unique position that we haven't taken advantage of. And that's what I'm saying. We haven't developed it. Liberia still is the U.S., one of the U.S. center of influence on the African continent. Still. Unfortunately, we've been so disorganized with it that the U.S. have to build almost a small country in their embassy in Liberia to be able to control that, because we are not organized enough for them to have a skeleton operation utilizing our strong institutions. So strategically, we are still considered, even by all the other super players and powers, as the U.S. center of influence. That's why you will see the French, the British will not do anything crazy in Liberia without the U.S. acquiescence. I believe, if you ask me, there are a few things at play here. There are some major shaking up going on right now, even with resources. We saw President Trump engagement in Ukraine and other places, right? Looking for natural minerals and all of that. But we are not the unique people that have some of those. Security arrangements as well. We saw AFRICOM and the U.S. Central Command looking at how that region is becoming when it comes to terrorism and all of that stuff. But again, I will put it to you, security sector management. We are not positioned. So the U.S., Liberia is the U.S. center of influence, but for the U.S. to do anything like Liberia, like we see, they usually set up their whole shop. And they don't come to our military and be like, you know what, the AFL is so competent and ready to go. We don't need to deploy 500 soldiers to Liberia. We will use the AFL, to boost their capacity to do this. Or the Liberia National Police is so competent and ready to go. We boost their capacity to become one of the effective forces of combating the drug trafficking, trade that's happening in the region. Or the Liberian immigration system is. We don't have any of those going for us. So even if the U.S. decided that they wanted to do something in Liberia and Liberia agrees, we will benefit very little because we are not equipped or positioned, well positioned to take advantage and leverage those type of investments that will be coming through.
Thank you, Leo. Let us welcome Mr. Stephen Miguel. Mr. Miguel, good evening and welcome to Friday Night Debate. How you doing there?
Good evening and thank you from my own place here in Huntington, West Virginia. I'm doing great and thank you for the show. Well,
all right. Yeah, I was just about to say, I'll get back to you. Mr. Gibson, Because the U.S. must have a reason, and I'm just curious, what could that reason be? And the Liberian government is so excited about this. And what could the Liberian government reason be other than, well, our president has gone to America?
Yeah, I mean, with America, I know that they're currently doing a lot of deportation. I know in one of the articles that I've seen, they're talking about potentially identifying Liberia as one of those hubs to drop off folks who are, whether they're from Liberia or not, to be sent to Liberia once they're deported from here. So I don't know how true that is, but if that is something that America is thinking about, I wouldn't, second guess it, especially dealing with a president like Donald Trump. He has made it very clear he is trying to rid America of all of the criminals and the crime, war on crime, and things like that. So whatever they've schemed up to do, I think Liberia is supposedly on that list of potential countries that they're looking at. So I wouldn't put it past America if that's what they're calling Liberia to the table to discuss. But also, I want to mention that I know in a couple weeks ago that they did Bridge to Prosperity table conversation with a few potential investors, business people from America. So I don't know if that's something that they want to also continue conversations on when it comes to what's being done by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in terms of engaging Americans over here who are not Liberian nationals. So it's a lot of things, but I think primarily, I think they're probably going to hit on the conversation about Liberia potentially receiving some of those folks that they would be deporting.
Yeah, because in the reasons or one of the issues on the agenda for the meeting is migration dialogue. I don't know what that actually is. Well, let me get to you. And that's why I want to think that, you have a point there, because if anybody would do that, it would be Trump, who might be looking for somewhere to dump people he perceived to be criminals and not wanted of being here. He, the guy that would do that. And if that is any reason why he's calling our president to come, I don't know how our president is going to respond to that. But Mr. Miguel, let me come to you. I know you were curious to participate in the debate here. Should the people of Liberia have any reason to feel good about this visitation? Does this visitation provide any opportunity in any shape and form for our government to present something that they can benefit from as a government?
Oh yes, very highly on my agenda, on my expectation. That is to say, so this is an opportunity for Boakai to be able to rekindle our relationship with the U.S. Looking at Liberia's strategic location in West Africa, and with the U.S. having had the backlash from African government, especially with the way how to do business, geopolitics, and everything. I know I've been following the U.S. policy in Africa, and the presence of China and Russia within West Africa. I think it should be a security mind-blowing thing for the region and for the U.S. As to say, you're looking at Liberia being very porous, Liberia being one of the highest places that are drug trafficking from South America as one of the easier places for transferring drug to Europe. So West Africa isn't far from Latin America. We've seen all of the loophole in our security processes. We're also seeing what is raising in West Africa with the sentiments. America is losing a lot of hate around the world. Who are her traditional partners? I know Liberia is America project, if we like it or not, but America actually created Liberia as a project. But down the line, we've been left alone, looking at the interests of the war and like America in involvement in our war in terms of what was happening in all of the different uh, 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 steps and all of the different excuses. Looking at what is happening today in West Africa. See the recent transaction, the recent meeting of the South African president to the White House. I know Trump is reaching out to as many people as allies and as traditional friends and partner, there should be area for opportunity, and there should be area to put Liberia plot out there in terms of the international
And Mr.
relation that we
Market, do
have.
you think Mr. Trump's invitations to these African leaders, the way he even behaves, right, the way he looks down on them, do you think he has any intention in any shape other than scoring political points to really be a partner to these African countries and leaders he calling?
What if he has a interest of that? It is banned on you as an African leader to use the opportunity and the stage, because no matter what, it's been followed globally in terms of your geopolitics and your geo importance on your strategy in terms of maintaining that peace and security, maintaining that buy-in. America has lost a lot of influence in terms of the hold on Africa, looking at what China has done. And Russia is practically sweeping West Africa. This is the same place that back in the Cold War, it was so important to the point that America has a base in Liberia today, which is the remnant of the Rabat International Airport. And we know it historically. We know the Omega and all of those. And so we are still positioned strategically to change the narrative and the disparity in terms of what we should be getting from the U.S.
All right, Mr. Miguel, my last question to you, which I'll ask the other debaters here, is that do you think our president, Mr. Boakai, is capable to articulate anything to the U.S. government, to the U.S. president, for any kind of partnership? Because according to the agenda, they say infrastructure development, migration dialogue, they're talking about terrorism, and so on and so forth. Where does Liberia fit in this agenda?
Oh yes, looking at all of what is.
Do you think President Boakai can articulate anything that will bring dividend in terms of partnership, investment to Liberia that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could not do, that Boakai can do? Do you see that possibility?
Oh yes, definitely. And I think that's the reason why he's the Liberian people president. He was elected by the Liberian people, and I gave him all.
They were all elected, so let's forget about that point. I'm talking about
the
ability to be able to do something.
Yes, he does. He does. Looking at what are the global trending happening right now, we got global warming, we got climate change, we got one of the deplorable roles in Liberia, in West Africa. We have one of the least in terms of linking.
You are listing our problems. I'm talking about his ability to be able to come to this meeting and negotiate something concrete, some kind of partnership to take to Liberia. The problems, but they are numerous. We
yes, definitely. Because definitely, I followed the trend. I saw that Eden Mox were able to connect the Starlink to Liberia. Those are think that could be put to the forefront in terms of what
did that happen because of our president, or it was a businessman finding business territories where he can make money?
Well, with the current relationship between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, do you think that's possible?
Yes, it is possible. And number two is I want to believe the president has the ability to do that, because they are great advisor and that they're great people who have been giving him some of the concrete economic change and plead to make that plea for Liberia.
Mr. Miguel, I like your optimism. Mr. Gibson, the thing is that I know what a leader is capable of doing. Where someone can go and not succeed, another person will go there and succeed because of their ability, the way they communicate, the kind of compelling argument, the kind of story they are able to tell will convince somebody, especially when you're dealing with somebody like Donald Trump, who does not see others as competitors. He see them as subjects, and that's how he see people. So for him to be inviting an African leader and an African leader to be excited about it, Leo said, well, the United States is the most consequential country on earth. So when they invite you, you must come. And I disagree with Leo. If I were president of Liberia, the U.S. government invite me, I'm not coming. I don't need U.S. because if we needed U.S., we would have been better off. We are not better off because we have not needed ourselves all these years. So if anything we need most is ourselves right now. And that's why I'm asking the question. So, Mr. Gibson, I put it to you.
I mean, if you look at the previous travels, and I can say for most administrations, whenever you've seen the president go to countries within Asia, within Europe, there's a lot of great expectations that are, talked about on the airways, about what's going to be brought back. And then, of course, we're let down in the end because those conversations, as someone had said earlier, a lot of the times when heads of states come to these nations, that means they're signing an agreement that's already been planned ahead of time. So you're just coming to sign, and then that's it. And then the deliverables will start to roll out. From the recent travels, I can say that President Boakai has done, whether it's to Asia or places in Europe, when he comes back, there's no press conference that is stating what the true actual things is occurring. There's no things that were brought back that Liberians can benefit from. It's all about, we had fruitful conversations around X, Y, and Z, and we're looking to receive a delegation within the coming months. The coming months come and go, and there's no delegation that has stepped on ground to even figure out where will be the next phase of such conversation on what the true benefit will be for Liberia. So I don't see President Boakai coming in and changing President Trump's mind or anyone around that table's mind, because there's already a fixed agenda that's in place, and that is for them. And when I say them, I mean America to benefit. And America already has its plan laid out for Liberia. So whatever else that they might bring to the table is not something that they might be looking to entertain. I'm not confident that President Boakai, based off of recent travels, I'm not confident that anything good will come out of it in terms of deliverables that we can say we're walking away from this table with a signed agreement to have, let's say, a number of businesses that will now be popping up to explore infrastructure development or dealing with energy creation within Liberia. I don't see any of those conversations occurring after they get back on the ground and President Boakai saying what they were able to receive. I don't see that happening.
I could see you cracking up there. This is a U.S. president who courts everything that is of little help to African nations, and now he turns around and inviting them. He see Africans and African immigrants, are not wanted to be here, and so for him to be calling African leaders and people to be celebrating that, I'm like, how are people really thinking here? What is there, that Liberia stand? I mean, are we not, is the President Boakai not coming to enjoy himself in a nice place and eat good meal and enjoy his flight? What can we possibly get out of this?
Okay. Martin, hello.
No, that's for Konyene. Hold on. Mr. Yeah.
Trump famously called African countries something that is not even fit for TV. How can we forget? He famously called African countries something that is not fit for TV. This is a man who told you no refugee is permitted to enter US even after agreement. Then he went to South Africa and brought in white refugees that he considered refugees. So that is what we have in Liberia, is low self-esteem from the leadership down to the population. Low self-esteem. If Trump is calling you, the only reason why he's calling you is because Trump wants something from you. Trump is never ever going to call you because he wants to confer a benefit on you. If you have a plan, fine, that's good. You have something to offer, well, that's fine. But the way I see Liberia is like a basket case. So technically, in terms of business negotiation and striking deals, I struggle to find what Liberia has to offer. I struggle. So, but because we have low self-esteem generally from the leaders to the population, so just the fact of getting on a plane and coming to the US and being in the White House, take picture and post it on social media, that is a success. And that is a success for people with low self-esteem. The problem in Liberia is poverty, is malnutrition, is lack of technical skills, lack of education, lack of infrastructure development. That is the problem in Liberia. No amount of going to China, Brussels, and New York will solve that problem. And if you think Trump that called Liberia, not Liberia, the entire African continent, or name that is cannot be said on TV, you really think that he's calling you to confer benefit on you? Good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Leo Johnson, if you were in the position of President Boakai and receiving this invitation and understanding who Trump is and how he thinks of you and your kind, and I'm being very tough here, will you honor any such invitation? Let me put it bluntly to you. This is a man that insult you and your people and your entire heritage and see you less of a human being. And now he invites you and so, yes, you know, the man country is the most powerful country. I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at my country, or I'm looking at the nation America, so I'm going. Will you think you will not be disappointing your country? Don't you think you're not understanding who you are and what you stand for and what you represent as a president of the country?
It's a very interesting question you asked, Anthony. Let me put it in another way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in a schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
There's this strong big brother, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
He catches you, he whips you for no reason. You did nothing wrong. He disgraces you, humiliates you. 4 days later, he calls you and says, Anthony, I want to talk to you. You were telling him, I'm not doing it, I'm not coming to you, I can't talk to you because you disgrace me, you beat me the last time or whatever.
Yes, I would say that.
Yeah, another flogging coming, the next flogging you may not survive. Period. Because he can flog you anytime he chooses, anyhow.
So what will be that flogging and what will be not survive?
Very good. This is where strategy comes in, right? This is where strategy comes in. That's what people will tell you. Not necessarily must you go, bow down or expect that the people here will give you $50 when you bring him water, or will be glowing on you with your praise, or will think any better of you because you brought him a cup of water to drink, right? Or because you went to his call or so. However, let me give it to you this way. Let's say there was another big brother who's not stronger than him, right? But that big brother still stronger than me too and won't flog me too. And then the other big brother calling me now. This time in a cordial way, telling me to come sit on the dining room table. And, instead of flogging the last time they saw him flogging me, this time around they see me sitting with him on the dining room table. I may not get much from that big brother anyway, because what he think of me. But the fact that he invited me to the dining room table, I can strategically leverage that, because guess what? I'm not the only one fighting for a seat on that dining room table. A lot of people fighting for seats on that, including some of the other big brothers who also won't flog me too, but they're not able to flog them all. How can I leverage that to get what I want using that big brother? I even knowing that I go and drop a name in ways that can get me. But let me break it down for you. Let me give you some where Liberia is practically that I feel that, again, we're not building the case for ourselves. Because when you go to a meeting like the President of the United States of America invited, it's also an open door for you to engage at multiple lower levels, right? For example, if I was on President Boakai's team, the first thing I will start to do, I will start to hit places like Silicon Valley. I'll start to hit places like the Black churches, Black church community, the NAACP, the Black Caucus of the Democratic Party. I will start to hit all of these other places. Because guess what? Liberia whole budget, I run 500-600 million. So if even you are able to raise $40 million in the United States of America, not from your meeting with Trump, but leveraging that opportunity to get into some of these rooms that Trump does not have to make the determination for you to make a case. And I will name you why it matters, Anthony. Let me give you some quick stats in education. According to UNICEF 2025 report in Liberia, 50.1% of our children are out of school nationally, with the net enrollment just at 46%. That's 2025. It'll be 2024, but the stats were released this year. Let me give you one more. Access to basic facility in schools severely lacking. 50% of our schools don't have basic water. 73% lack basic sanitation, and 1/3 have no sanitation services at all. Only 35% have latrine facilities to begin with. Let me tell you what this means. Let's look at even something like health. Only 66.3% of children under 5 have their birth registered. Under 6.3, and with a mere 30% possessing any birth certificate. So children being born, under 30% of the Liberian citizens are accounted for, with children being born. The danger with these low-hanging fruit, if you ask me, social protection, all of these issues is that you can mobilize resources, leveraging something like a meeting with President Trump, not because he will give you glowing reviews and flowers, to mobilize the resources required to address, if you can address having basic latrines at school, if you can address having basic education necessities for kids in school.
Leo, you can do these things.
I have to jump in. I mean, why do you have to go to the White House to solve the problem that you is mentioning?
You are invited. You are only honoring an invitation.
What is the benefit of going to the White House?
The benefit is that you're not able to man your own border.
The people that are listening want to follow the flow.
Okay. You got no police force. You got nothing.
And Leo, my point is that all of the good things you said, Mr. Boakai, our president, can come to America and meet the church leaders, can meet the Democratic leaders.
No.
People
no, it's not the same. I'm a fundraiser. Let me give you a typical example.
I know you are a fundraiser, and I know you have the evidence to prove it, but I'm also telling you, if you are the president of a country, you have a platform that when you reach out, people will give you audience.
Anthony, I don't disagree with you on that piece. President,
so
but let me tell
you don't necessarily need an invitation from
you
president. Less of a human being before you can do what you're articulating here.
Let me give you one point. You know what? Big corporations like Amazon, Apple, Walmart, they say they will do something. President Trump come out and they say, "I dare you. Let me see you do it." They reverse it. So what I'm saying to you right now, because President Trump is the most powerful leader in the world.
Can President Trump reversed the business of Elon Musk in Liberia providing Starlight Internet Man business?
Yes, we can. If he wants to. But let me give you one quick example, because the other people got to come in. Let me give you one quick example. If President Trump right now, all major business leaders are strategizing how to get on President Trump's good side. All of them are strategizing. Even Elon Musk came back there a few days and said, you know what, he thought he went too far. We're criticizing the president of the United States of America. So, and they're not doing it because they like him per se or they agree with him, but they know the power he wields to cause them a lot of damage. So what I'm saying to you, if President Boakai can be seen as one of those people that the president of the United States think is a strategic leader, placed in whatever way, whether for accepting deportees, whether for accepting what is deemed as being in the good books of the United States, that can open doors because in a way, it wields the sphere of influence of President Trump as favorable with countries he wants to talk to.
That is a good point there. Koine, you wanted to counter Leo. Go ahead.
Yeah. Look, Leo, there are a lot of countries that are the things you mentioned: education, technology, development. There are a lot of countries that are doing that thing without coming to America. And so the problem we have in Liberia is that we are flushing money down the drain and coming to America to ask for that same money. Let me give you an example. When they audited the CBL, they found out that up to 200 million was spent in covert operation. And obviously, as somebody who been in Liberia, I know what is that. Covert operation is just security people take money and share it among themselves. So if you flush down 200 million in covert operation and Boakai got an audit report, instead of commissioning an investigation and prosecuting people and probably recouping some of that money, what did he do? He paid off the governor that facilitated the criminal activities. So there are people like George Weah, then they have some of that millions in their pocket. You leave all of that and you come to the US hoping that they will sign a 50 million agreement or 10 million agreement or 5 million agreement. How is that helping you? It doesn't help. And if you put all the scandals together in Liberia, from LTA, from the legislature, from the yellow mission, you put all those scandals together, we're talking about up to $1 billion. There's no way Trump is going to sign $1 billion agreement with you. At most, maybe 5 million, 10 million. So the real solution to the problem you are mentioning is not to come and sit down with Trump, because Trump doesn't care about you. It is to make Liberia an attractive venue for investment.
Do you know
And making Liberia an attractive venue for investment does not require going to the White House.
Do you know any leader that have turned down an invitation from the President of the United States?
I know a lot of leaders, for example, that turned down not just an invitation from the US. For example, when Mandela came to power, the World Bank and the IMF lined up to give him loans.
No, I'm saying the President of the United States.
I'm not being particular about it.
Do you know one leader in the world?
Leo, my argument has been we should be independent, not necessarily America. I said to you,
the US. It's a US.
I don't have to answer your question exactly the way you want to answer. I just have to give you my answer.
Fair enough.
I said to you, we don't need to go to Beijing, Brussels, or New York to look for development. And you're challenging that point of view. So I'm telling you, for example, Mandela, when he came to power, the World Bank and IMF lined up to give him loans. He said, no, we don't need loans. We will get in there, we'll manage our resources, and if we need loan, we'll come to you.
But what do you know they're calling you for?
Look, Leo, how can you be engaged with the USS 1847? You are still the poorest country in the world, and you still convincing me
that's on the US, not on the US.
Give me a break. You still convincing me that the thing that we didn't get said 1847 by engaging with America, somehow, magically, under a president like Trump, who has described Africa as a whole in the worst possible manner, somehow we are magically going to get benefit from him. We should stop selling that, because if we are the intellectuals and we start selling false hope to the population, the average citizen, then the average citizen is going to buy into that false hope. They're going to always be let down.
But nobody sold hope yet.
But that you're selling hope. You're telling all that. You describe a lot of things with the Liberian social economic situation, and you are saying that it can be improved by sitting down at the White House. I said there's so many countries that develop the country without going to the White House. So you don't need to go to the White House. Now do you need to go to Beijing? The amount of money that is being, will you give me a break? Because I'm mentioning something very important to you. I'm telling you that millions of dollars is being wasted down the drain in Liberia, in Monrovia. Pick up that money from underground, pick up it from the trash and make use of it before going to Washington to go back for money.
And Leo, to your question, whether there is any leader that has turned down U.S. president invitation, of course, yes. I just did a Google search here. China president Xi Jinping declined Donald Trump's invitation to attend the 2025 inauguration.
And that's a great point, Anthony.
No official reason was given.
Exactly.
Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa were also, and then when the Cyril Ramaphosa,
because he was with Trump recently. He was with Trump recently, yeah.
So okay, the one for China, I think
so China's great. Great. But so China,
then Narendra Modi of India turned down Trump's invitation to visit Washington during a return trip from Canada in June of 2025, just last month.
Great. Now the context you did not provide to work, and by the way, you're correct. Those are leaders that turned down the U.S. president invitation. The context you did not provide is that these countries and the U.S. they were in a direct conflict. The U.S. had asked for Canada to extradite an Indian operative that was arrested here, which was the daughter of a billionaire Indian business person. And Canada was cooperating with the U.S., which is why India had a protest. That was a direct protest at the U.S. China was also a protest at Trump's tariffs. However, the question that I asked in the context of my question, by the way, to correct you, Koine, I never said what President Boakai coming to America will help solve Liberia problem. I said President Boakai coming to America is an opportunity for Liberia to prepare and package themselves properly to ensure that they leverage the opportunity to sell their country beyond just President Trump table, which is why I mentioned other groups that they can engage with. So I'm not telling you automatically coming to President Trump will give you anything.
So then my next question here is, have we had any such opportunity before?
Yes.
I'm sure the answer will be yes.
Yes. And let me give you an example. The Boakai Hydro that you got today. America gave you over $200 million. You decided to go to 1980 hydro and repair it rather than be innovative enough to come up with.
So Leo is agreeing to the real problem in Liberia.
No, but
It's not going around looking for it.
Please.
You're talking two different things. I don't disagree with corruption in Liberia and all of that. What I'm telling you is, just because there's corruption in Liberia does not mean I'm gonna seize the opportunity to sell my country when it comes up.
Thank you. Let me bring the other team members in here. That then we can go to our next topic. Mr. Stephen Miguel, go ahead, sir.
I'm listening. Okay, as Leo rightly said, it's an opportunity. So for every bad thing that happens in the world, that bad thing can be also a good point as a starting point to create a good ending point. Let's pray for the best and let's package ourselves well. Let's have not a lot of expectation and hope. It may not. However, for the fact that these are crucial time with the USAID, one of our greatest aid funding mechanism in Liberia across every sector, including health, education, climate change, good governance, election. Who paid for our election in Liberia? The US government have committed a whole lot through the democratic processes. Even to run election in Liberia, we haven't been able to come up and independently run the election without outside money. Even with NEC, the budget that NEC has cannot even afford for. What happened to some of the reconciliation budgets that happened to have been cut down by the USAID and Trump right now? So this is just a right opportunity time to put in. For example, I'm saying it on this public platform. There are people right now in Liberia who are on 3 months buffer for medication that the president office are providing for people with HIV in Liberia, malaria, and tuberculosis. Those funding has been cut. Those important aspect of saving life, mother to child, maternity health issues, water, wash. Even with all the UN agencies in Liberia, the US government is still one of the big funder, the Global Fund.
Yeah. And
with the
so
absence of all this, with the absence of all this cost.
You accurately said that, USAID being cut off, the aid being provided through USAID being cut off, it affected most of these sectors. Is this meeting going to restore that?
That's an opportunity point to see the reason why, to give me Dr. and President Trump the knowledge with how much setback has happened because of the clinical aspect, the public health area, and all our environmental issues that affect us. 100%. You're talking about electricity, you're talking about the Millennium Project, all of the ongoing, you say government, well, there are existing projects in Liberia that have been affected greatly by the executive order. So those are things we'll give opportunity to put on the table to talk about.
All right. We will wait and see what will come out of this meeting. I am not a fan of our leaders rushing to just any other country. I've seen that so much. I've seen the Liberian president rushing to China and telling us about mineral swap and nothing happened, and so on and so forth. And here we are. I believe that if we look within ourselves, I'm not saying I believe in isolationism, that we should isolate ourselves. I would rather all do business with the U.S., the people of America. All right, I would rather us do business with them. But this idea that just a visit will cut it, I don't believe it. There are U.S. businesses that we can engage. There are other U.S. institutions other than the U.S. government that we can engage. And individually and as a government we can do so, and we can benefit. But I don't think we should be looking up to them. It's like we are looking up to them for everything, and that is what I don't like. Mr. Ducle, your final point on this debate.
You cannot separate Liberia's dependence on the United States from anything that we do. You have to remember the way everything started and the way Liberia is attached. But in essence, this has to do with bad governance. This has to do with bad leadership. And so this is not, I totally agree with you that this one visit is not going to make any significant dent into the multitude of issues that we need to deal with in our country. But it's also an opportunity for the Unity Party government to see if they can make some inroad at the bilateral level or even at the multilateral level to see if they can, they can attract some investment through these meetings. Again, remember, before this invitation was sent out, there was an advance team from the foreign ministry headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Madam Beslo Nyanti, who was in the States, and she had some discussions with some officials of the State Department. Now, these delegations usually, when they come to these meetings at the State Department, their meetings are not usually limited to only the State Department. They can meet private sector people. They can sort of make arrangement to meet the people from the corporate America. But these meetings are usually facilitated through what they have initiated with the Department of State, because these are American companies, and there are certain regulations that must be followed no matter where these companies go. And so, yes, they are private American companies, but these companies have to adhere to American laws no matter where they are. And so, and this is where you have a good diplomat, where you have really good diplomats who can negotiate good deals for your country. This is where the skillful diplomat comes in and pitch the need for Liberia to have these people coming to invest into our countries. But you see, that's just one part of it. You cannot just have investment in a vacuum. There are a lot of elements that must come together in order for that individual or for that corporation to decide to invest in your country. And I'm not sure if we are doing a good job of that, particularly our National Investment Commission.
And Mr. Duque,
yes.
do you know if Liberia as a country has a project for which is seeking cooperation, contribution, and not just begging for aid? Do you know about that? And
no.
Leo, sorry to put you on the spot here. Leo, my good friend here, he came up with a project to build a modern library in our country.
Yes.
He had a plan. That was his project. So this is my project. This is what I want to contribute to my country. That there will be a library where a child can go and read a book, where a child can go and access internet. So when he came up with that plan, he started reaching out to people he can get to. And when they saw his plan, said, oh, this is a good plan. I'll contribute to it. And today, that library is functional. Does our country have a plan to say, look, when it comes to us dealing with America, this is our project that we're going to sell to them? Do we have that? Does our country have a project or a plan that, look, when we are meeting with China, the reality is these are world powers. We can't isolate ourselves. I feel that we must know more within ourselves, but at the same time, tell the people, look, this is our plan. Either you contribute to our plan or leave her alone.
Okay.
Does our country have that?
Yes. That question you ask is a loaded question, but remember, in every foreign ministry on the face of the earth, there is a department in each foreign ministry that I know of. There is a department that is uniquely charged with dealing with the United States of America. In other words, there's a bureau.
So how come, I'm sorry for doing this, how come we don't know as a people that they are represented?
Well,
when you started a project, the project was not a secret.
Yeah, that's
no butch.
Yeah, and that's
not only communicate to people he wants contribution from to fulfill this project. He sold the project to his own Liberian people. Look, this is the project. This is what I want to do as my contribution.
Okay.
So why is it that we can't know what our government is doing?
Difference. As a matter of fact, and I'm just coming to that point. Liberia Unity Party government, they have a project. But I was just going to tell you the reason why that project, the way they present it and the way they have gone about it, it's not going to go nowhere. And I was just starting by telling you that in the Americas department, they usually, these individuals are specialists who studied American politics, the American business, you name it, everything that has to do with America. In other words, people who are in this bureau are usually experts on America. So these people are the ones who have to craft your politics and your diplomacy towards the United States. But unfortunately, the people who are staff in our America's bureau, in our foreign ministry, they are all inept. They have absolutely no clue what they are doing. Now, you cited Leo as an
If they
example.
have no clue,
yes,
does the
yes,
president not have a clue to come up with
absolutely,
that plan?
yes, and I will tell you why I said that. What you saw Leo do, there were a lot of things that went on behind the scene before Leo even came out to talk about that project. Now, that behind the scene, that's where the expertise, the people who are supposed to be dealing with America, supposed to be crafting our politics. Now, if you look at the arrest agenda, there are a lot of things there that the government wants to do. But can you tell me any ministry in the Liberia, in the current unit of government, in the current government that has called to say, okay, we are now approaching to year 2 in XYZ. What is the update? There's absolutely no such thing that has been done or is ever going to be done, because the people craft these things for local consumption only. They don't follow it, and their objectives is to get these things presented. When the money comes, they siphon the money and they do whatever they want to do besides what they've talked about. Otherwise, on paper, we discussed this, what the Unity Party
Thank you, Mr. Duclair.
government wants to do.
You answered my question very well.
Yeah.
And Gibson, I'm going to give you the last 1 minute here, then we'll go to our next topic that I like very much. The fight against corruption is getting interesting in our country. We need to debate it. So, what is the plan in dealing with the United States? Do we have one? Do we know of it? Should it be a secret?
It shouldn't be a secret, as you said earlier. A lot of the things that for years has been done when it comes to dealing with nations and upcoming trips that the president and his delegation takes is a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of things that are left under wraps to where the public is not fully aware of what Liberia will be presenting to some of these nations. There's a need for that transparency to be there, for it to be a conversation that is well talked about across the airwaves, educating Liberians that this is what Liberia will be talking about when they meet with this leader of this nation, because this is the focus point. So having these special envoys that are in Canada, in America, what are they doing now to prepare for these visits, right? When Liberia comes, as Mr. Johnson stated, there's a need for you to have these side conversations with major actors in the African-American community, in other communities that might be wanting to invest in Liberia, talking to some of these major players who will then help with bolstering their community and their people that they have within their network to now look at Liberia as a potential place of investments, instead of just depending on the visit to the White House to be the starting point. But there needs to be side conversations that will feed into the end goal, which is to make sure that Liberia walks away with something from this visit, because there's a lot of money on the line when it comes to spending for flights, for lodging, for feeding, all these things that Liberia has to dish out. What is the return on investment at the end of the day if we're only just focusing on one visit, and that is just to the White House? But what about the other communities that matter? Working with the Congressional Black Caucus, working with these different individuals that have major people within the network that can actually look at Liberia and say, we want to invest. So the transparency factor is not there. I said it in recent shows when there was a visit to China. We never know what is taking place. What's the package that's being presented? Are we having this national investment director, or whatever his position is, actually designing a well thought out plan on who is going to be dealing with what? If you have the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy talking to such and such person or coming on the visit, who will they be in front of besides government entities? So there's a need for that package plan to be presented to the public for consumption, for more dialogue to occur, and then we'll be able to follow the discussions as it goes along. But I think what's happening now with other administrations, Liberia will come to these nations and just wing it. They won't have a true plan. to where we'll understand what's happening. It's just, oh, this was a spur of the moment thing that occurred, and we're going to go ahead and talk about it, but it's not a fixed agenda to understand what's happening.
Thank you, and I agree with you. I agree with Leo. It is all about strategy. It is about leadership, and it's about plan. You know,
let me just answer that question quick minute. There's a global plan that every country is going over the world in terms of the SDG. Those plans are laid out, and every country narrow the plans to their context and to their development sustainability. And we know the plans are there. They've used the plan in government government. However, it's how you use the plan, and also how you use the money that comes behind the plan. First of all, some of the plans you don't even have control over them. The typical example, we're talking reconciliation and peace in Liberia. I read the budget the other day. There's a $37.7 million for just that activity. However, there have been a couple of them happening in part and pieces. I know one happened in Bon County, one happened in Grand Bassa County, in peace and reconciliation, in building and healing wounds and healing memory and all of that. Those plans are all there. But the downside to it is that when the money comes, it gets diverted. That's some of the reason why today we see even the USAID is not in country because it's a sin corrupt. And part of this money that comes through some of these international NGO too, people do also follow them and support them.
All right.
So corruption is one of the major issues. That's the reason why they cut it down to reevaluate the whole process as it is affecting some of us at the grassroots level and some of us at the clinical level.
I just wanted to say one fact on the record, Anthony.
All right.
The most recent single largest mobilizations of investment in any African country in recent memory included or involved no state actor whatsoever. It was the Ghana year of the return. No state actor, no government, the US government didn't do nothing about it. It was the Ghanaian government engaging the diaspora, multi-factor organizations, groups, agencies, mobilized one of the single largest, drive for, international investment that is still yielding multiple dividends and results for Ghanaian businesses. You now got Dirty December, you got Coachella. All of them came out of that particular drive as we speak. So the point I'm making is this. You use the optics of these meetings. It's not that you come into this meeting thinking that you will get something from it. I can tell you, if I were coming to a meeting with President Trump, if I were President Boakai, right? I look at 3 major companies in Silicon Valley that I think will be, attractive for Liberia. And my team connected and say, hey, my President Boakai will be visiting the US for a key strategic engagement meeting with President Trump, and was wondering after that meeting on the sidelines, dropping that name President Trump could probably get you that meeting that you wouldn't have gotten if it were just you coming directly. But because the person know that, if this man is engaging at this level, you know what they're thinking, that they can leverage some of their own taxpayers' dollars through the American government to engage in your country directly as a result of you being in the good books of the president's quote unquote. Whether that works or not is not the question. But if you go after 10 of those, one may come true and be very significant.
True.
Thank you.
And finally, Leo, in order for all of that to happen, your experts on America in your foreign ministry are the one who packaged that for the president, and all will be worked out and give it to the president. It is what that's what we are like. We don't have those brain.
I agree. That was the first point I made. I fully agree. You need, what are you selling? What are you bringing to the people? My mom always say, you don't say no to the call. You can refuse what's in the call, but you never say no to the call. You go to the call. You can decide whether or not the thing in that call, does it make sense for you or not? That might up to you, but never decide to say no to the call. That's just my own piece there.
Yeah. Thank you. And again, engaging with countries and business leaders, you can't go wrong with that in terms of building, developmental cooperation. It helps. Leah gives. He did give a good example there with Ghana, and Liberia is unique for that. And I don't know why our leaders are not looking in that direction, right? The MBA, big guys, and we can do a lot. Let's get to our next topic here, the fight against corruption. It is getting interesting, right? And let me put it in context for you, the debaters, to debate. So here is President Boakai. He said he's fighting corruption, and those who oppose him politically, especially folks from the CDC side, said, well, this is wish on. He's going after individuals who serve in the CDC government. All right. And we also are aware of the fact that CDC was being criticized for not, auditing Unity Party officials. President Boakai is here, and I say, well, if you didn't audit Unity Party official, I mean, I'm not saying that's what he said, but I'm saying, as a way of laying out this conversation, look, you had the opportunity to audit us. You didn't expect me to come and audit me because I was Unity Party. You, CDC, had an opportunity to do so. You didn't do it. Now I'm here, and you have served. It is my responsibility to check you because you can't really check yourself. So it's my responsibility to check you. And now there are indictments, there are arrests, and there's court hearing and all that. And people are saying, well, the mayor is witch hunting. He's being selective. The fight against corruption is being ongoing now. Is President Boakai up to something there? And let me also add, we see a lot of suspensions. Even though I have my own criticism of this suspension, especially the one for the assets recovery where the president suspended over 445 persons. Some of those people were drinking Kool-Aid the next day. None of them, their cars were not taken from them and so forth. Are these suspensions gradually beginning to make sense? Is President Boakai's, I would say, little fight against corruption and going after, even if the just passed official, is that something we should commend, or this is just another way of not fighting corruption seriously? Let me start with you, Konyen, because this is your area. You are the financial crime specialist here. You are muted. Unmute, sir.
And regarding audits and investigations, we don't do it because somebody was in the regime and they left. That's the way it has always been done in Liberia, and that is a big problem. We do it because we must be accountable to the Liberian people for the resources entrusted to our care. Not because it was a CDC regime, so UP need to go after CDC, or it was a UP regime, so CDC you need to go after UP. That is the way it was traditionally been done in Liberia. Boakai is not making, because when you take an action, it is not the action per se, it is the impact. Can we say what is the impact of Boakai fight of corruption to date? Has he, for example, deterred? Has he, for example, recouped? He's neither deterring nor recouping, because all the suspension are indefinite. And mind you, Boakai does not believe in a Boakai. This is a man who told you in Lofa, you can steal as much as you want, but you must bless the people. That's what he said.
Did he say it, or you are
paraphrasing? Yeah, even if I'm paraphrasing, that's what he said. Steal, but make sure you bless the people. Other panelists will say it, but that's how I interpreted it. Steal, but bless the people. He also said, I will call you to eat. And you put your hand in the food and you're asking, who hand this? Meaning, what government job is an opportunity to eat. And when we call you to eat, stop asking stupid questions. So, the suspension, what does it do?
Are you saying President Boakai said those exact words?
Man, this is not a new story. He gave a parable when he made a statement. Before he even said, steal as much as you want, but bless the people, like Matana Miguel. He also said, he made a parable where he
not a context of
he said, I will call you to eat, and you asking who here. In short, government job is an opportunity to eat.
You are an attorney at law, so before you make your argument, you must be able to hold on, Koine. Let me put it in. Yeah. You are an attorney, and I know you represent yourself, but you also represent this network. You understand? I am all for let us critique our leaders, let them hold them accountable for what they say. But we should first be able to accurately quote them, what they say, and then we can come.
But correct me, because I'm sure you are aware of public events, so correct me.
All right, go ahead. I just wanted to provide that clarity. Go
I
ahead.
mean, and the other panelists can correct me. Okay, but the bottom line I'm saying, I explain what the auditing is. It's not because somebody is in a previous regime and all of that. That's why you audit. You audit because you have to be accountable for the resources given you. We pursue these corrupt claims either because we want to deter people from doing it, or we want to recoup or punish people. But the suspension is not a punishment. We are not deterring people because it's just telling them, look, if you get caught, I'm going to put you on the side. But I'm not going to pursue you. I'm not going to punish you. And I'm definitely not going to get that money back from you. The greatest benefit that can come to Liberia for pursuing corruption is to be able to get that money back from the people who stole it and don't deserve it. Because it serves two purposes. The first purpose is we punish the wrongdoer. The purpose number two is we took the benefit from them and we have that money now to redeploy it into the society. And thirdly, when other people see people being punished, they avoid doing those things. But since Boakai has been in power, it's been almost going to 2 years. There's nobody in jail. In fact, nobody has technically been dismissed.
Before you land, this is
and there is also nobody under direct prosecution. So this last point.
No, Koina, you will continue. We want you to state. Yeah, the quote. Yeah, Leo, please go ahead.
I want to read the exact quote.
Yeah, I put it on the screen.
Boakai speaks, quote, "We want to encourage those who want to remain corrupt and steal money, that I beg them, the money should be used to bless our people." This is why President Boakai, I just read a quote directly.
So I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, President Boakai did not say you must steal
the money. Which money will be used?
He said those who want to remain corrupt and steal.
Yeah, which money? That means the stolen money. The stolen money should be used to bless the people.
I was saying instead of stealing the money,
the money is for the people.
Don't put instead in the sentence.
Don't put it instead that the context. Well, you using context to interpret the president coming and use context to interpret things. I'm not put something there. You use your
go ahead, then you're coming. Go ahead.
My whole point is all the actions follows all the other things that follow what President Boakai said. If you're not sure of it, I agree the sentence can be misunderstood, but then you must look at the other sentences that followed in the whole speech and the ones that came before. Nothing there suggests that the president was asking people to steal money and bless people. If anything, he was threatening. He went on further to threaten those that will be corrupt. So that tells me that this sentence meant instead of stealing the money of the Liberian people should be used to bless our people. That was my understanding of it.
Can I come in now?
Yeah, go ahead, Koina.
I'm sorry. I kind of read these things using common sense. I want to encourage, not I want to discourage. I want to encourage. I'm sure Boakai know what they call discourage. Those who want to remain corrupt. Not those who want to turn away from the corruption, but those who want to remain corrupt. Use that money to bless our people. As far as I see in that sentence, he wants to encourage. He doesn't, not that he wants you to turn away from corruption, but he wants you to remain corrupt and use that money to bless the people. But here's the point I'm making. So what he said is pretty common. If you use common sense, it's very clear. Here's the point I'm making. In order to fight corruption, my brother, you have to prosecute as many persons as possible. If you start an investigation, you have to end it as soon as possible. If there are going to be charges, you have to file charges. If there are people who stole money, when you find it, you convict them, you have to recover those monies. Boakai is doing none of those.
Thank you.
He just suspend you, and you can go ahead and you will not be punished. You can go ahead and enjoy the stolen money as much as possible. So I don't call that fighting corruption. And one thing, he must be even-handed with the fight against corruption. You can have Boakai Ability, Luther Tape, public work minister, and all kinds of people still in the government working, and you say you are pursuing corruption. That is just almost like witch hunting.
Thank you. Thank you, Koine. Mr. Miguel, we are still looking at the fight against corruption as the president is making his effort. We've seen a lot of suspensions. But some of those suspensions reports have come out that seems to be very strong, where the government will go and negotiate with these very people that are being suspended. They were suspended for wrongdoing, and then the government will go behind the doors and negotiate with them, and even buying them out. There's the case at the ministry, not ministry of central bank, and another one at the Liberia Telecommunication Authority. These are two instances where the government turned around and paid the people is suspended for quote unquote corruption. All right. And now the government, some people see the thing that President Boakai is doing very well by going after individuals in the CDC government. Right now, another major case that I want to bring up here to form part of the discussion is the City of Hope, built by former President George Manuel Weah's wife, the former First Lady of Liberia, Claire Marie Weah. Where did she get the money from? Was a government-funded project, according to Claire Marie Weah herself. At the time of her husband's presidency, he will go out, and because he had friends, and these friends would give, and then that's how they build the place. And so the government seems not to believe it, and they want to go and audit that place to get the facts. Some people are commending these moves by President Boakai. Do you agree those are commendable, or he's just picking and choosing?
I think there's a catch-22, and there's a fine line to also look at the process. So you can't do it for one person and don't do it for the other person. First of all, I wouldn't say it is 100% of the best approach. However, they could improve that approach. Like, for example, I heard someone saying that even President Madam Salif had to visit a doctor because they bust on her resident at an all-hour bar. Maybe the FBI in Liberia, or the Liberian form of FBI that is collecting that is standing in that process, because he went to get Mirabro, and Mirabro having to be in that same vicinity, and was like almost an attack on the neighborhood, and it shocked the former president that she entered into the hospital. That could be investigated for another day. But my thing is that, have all of the government officials currently declared their access? You can't say you're catching rule when you say you rule. Have they put in place, whereas the government has the power? See the power exhibited by President Trump. President Boakai has that executive power. Those people, you can shout down their bank account in no time without even now creating the drama that is being heard. Almost like it's a whole drama thing to score points and score this and score that to the people of Liberia who are not literate to understand and mitigate those approaches. Yes, I've heard about the Central Bank incident. You know that those positions was turning positions. So if the government acted wrongly and figure out like to go have lawsuit or counterback on those people based on what and the procedure the way it was taken, that's how come they go back to say they will negotiate because what they wanted for themselves. This man from the Social Security and the NASCO director, I know he was one of those persons who was actually asked to leave office, and you could know he put his foot high on the ground. He put his foot high on the ground to the point that was a turning position. He was not going to leave, and he stayed there. For other people that went and negotiated, you see how all this Unity Party led government coming in power, running for power here and there, and acting individually and not holistically. So before you throw the ball, make sure your house is also clear. So I think everyone in Liberia, the government has a way to determine or even know what the power are or can shout down. So, for example, they had the rice incident that was donated to Liberia, and they said the former foreign minister are also implicated in that rice incident. What is the team that investigated? What was the investigational process, and what was the result and report? Can they have outsider do those things, or are those who are in there also carry on those? If the broad rise, it just tell you about accountability, how we Liberians, we are not accountable to each to the masses in terms of the few elite or the few people who have built power around them. It can happen for it can happen for this person and another person. So it's up there and not for the low people. So I
Thank you.
just think the approach is not 100% the right way to go.
Leo, are these efforts by the current administration commendable and bold? Trying to say, hey, Claudia was receiving funds, from the government of Liberia, and it was during that time she built a Hope City. I mean, it is within our right to check whether public funds not in that. She was in the budget consistently. From the very get-go, even the first budget, she has $500,000. That was the same amount they gave to JFK. I remember that. I reported on that. So some people think the government should be commended. And then the issue with the rice that was given by Saudi Arabia, some people say, well, we never saw a single bag anywhere going to anybody. Some people think, hey, whether the Kamaya were involved, we don't care whether he was Minister of Foreign Affairs or Mary brought the Iron Lady, we have to rein these people in. Some people think these are very commendable efforts from the president when it comes to the fight against corruption, whereas others see it as this situation. For example, Mr. Adulai RTA, who was suspended recently. Is that it? He supported President Boakai, and so it was just suspension. We also heard that, there was generator taking, $3,000 and that noise, that's the end. So I just want to get your take. Where do you stand in this debate? Commendable efforts or being selective and not genuine fight against corruption?
I'll take this back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What worries me is the fact that we are at a place where we have sunk so low to a level of mediocrity that we must be commending our leaders and officials for the bare minimum of their job requirements. Right? I'm not saying don't praise people who do their job well. We all like to be commended for doing our job well. But if it's gotten to the level where it's seen as you're doing us a favor or you're doing something extraordinary, when truth be told, that's the bare minimum of your job requirement to manage the state resources and manage it properly, to ensure that it goes where they go. So I have no problem with the Unity Party government going after people who they may have suspected or found any evidence or any indications that they were involved in any form of corruption with state resources. Let me tell you what I have a problem with. The problem I have with the inability of them to be able to see these cases through, the lack of capacity. The judiciary has proven unable not to have the capacity to actually prosecute these cases within the time frame. Some of these things require such speed to be done that by the time you're done with them, nobody cares anymore, and the outcome is irrelevant to the purpose of the state. So what I'm worried about is, it's okay, you can go after all these people, right? Arrest them, lay the charges, or whatever that is. But guess what? 2 years later, we are still talking about these cases that are still pending and still there, and we still don't know where it will go, and we're still hearing debates about additional evidence needs to be brought forward or not brought forward. But worst of all, let me ask this question. Must our police and security agencies always behave like rebels when they have to go arrest somebody, even when the person is of no threat of violence or resistance? And maybe I'm wrong. Those who are maybe involved with the security sector, my background is not security. But for example, if there was an arrest warrant for Mary Broad from the court, right? And you went to a house to arrest Mary Broad, does it have to be this ransacking, violent, burst in when she's in the bathroom, you yank her from the bathroom? Would have anything gone wrong if they had announced to Mary Broad that they were here on orders of the court and, to escort her or arrest her, and waited for her to put clothes on? That is, if it is true, right? These were rumors that we heard. Or bursting into the house. And not even that. We've seen it with other arrests, right? The way it is conducted sometimes, and sometimes we see these people being arrested, and they are not resisting. It's not like they are, refusing arrest. Even in the great United States and Canada, I see the police come to arrest people. They don't come and just yank you. They will come and let you know that you are under arrest, and they will ask you to turn around and, peacefully. so that they either have to handcuff you or whatever that is. Once you resist the order, that is when they go all out. So for me, I just think our security agencies needs to be more professionalized in executing this job. The goal is not to humiliate someone, because under our jurisprudence, a person is innocent until proven guilty. So just because they were ordered arrested under an allegation doesn't mean you get to treat them already like a criminal, because no court, it could be possible to go defend themselves and they are found not guilty. So let's not make it look like the moment they say you are alleged for corruption, we must humiliate you. You know, the security must make sure you are disgraced, you are humiliated. And then on the weekend business, why are we ordering arrest of people who we know are not flight rates? Some of these people are such major prominent figures in our society that, you know, if you have to have them on reconnaissance bill, you know, or whatever that is, while they are waiting their trials, why are we trying to stop it so that we can make it look like it's an operation to humiliate rather than an operation to investigate, put you through the judicial process, and if you are innocent, you are set free. If you're guilty, you are guilty. So I have no problem with President Boakai going after, you know, people who are shown to be corrupt or allegations of corruption. What I have problem with is a question: do we have the capacity? Because fighting corruption is not about arresting the people alone. It's about developing the resources, developing the capacity to ensure that they are properly tried through our system, and not making it look like it's some kind of revenge and going after people to humiliate them.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson, we are talking about the fight against corruption, the efforts of the president, the Unity Party government. And I agree with Leo here that why are we like commending people? Why is it of a big deal when the government say, hey, we have an indictment, we have reason to believe based on this audit report that, you know, you've done something wrong? Why is it? Where is that coming from? And before you can come in, let me share this with you. I don't know where it's coming from. This is coming from the war, Mr. Gibson, where when the small soldier or the general send, you know, a soldier say, go and get that person. I mean, your feet in the air, you're on the ground. You know, the butt of the gun is in your mouth and it's blood. Is that where it's coming from? Leo, I saw the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency were doing their job to burn, you know, some narcotics. When they pulled the thing on fire, the last thing I saw that those agents get in line, they started dancing the way those LU boys can be dancing. I'm like, what? This drug enforcement agent representing our country to put drugs on fire. You have to get in a circle and be dancing. They would have beginning on the palawa. You can be dancing.
Yeah, or, the whole militancy.
Yeah, those militant kind of way. I was like, what is this? So come in guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I want to agree with what Mr. Johnson has said, particularly when it comes to the fact what we're seeing time in and time out with a lot of these administrations is there is no set strategy put in place. They tend to put the cart before the horse. If you're going to go ahead and lay out a frame of how you're going to tackle corruption, there needs to be a plan from point A to Z, spelled out plainly to where people can follow that protocol, that model of what needs to be done. You can't just say you're going to start a assets recovery team, but what is going to be the methodology to get these people who you've now pinpointed as people who were in these corruption situations where they diverted funds from government coffers to their own pockets or to their own accounts? How are you going to go ahead and pinpoint that overall information that you need to collect to where when it goes to the court that you have all of the time, the data, and everything that you've collected, that government attorneys will go into that courtroom and can articulate from start to finish how this person was indeed playing part and parcel into the plans to divert funds. There is no strategy whatsoever that you ever see. It's like you want to go ahead and just earn a point, earn a gold star by saying, oh, Boakai's government did this by breaking into this person's home, taking them out and saying that they were found guilty of this. But there's no follow through. There is no set strategy of how you're going to engage, what needs to be done. And then that leaves the government looking as if they're not prepared. It has them looking as if they're novices in a game, when they should be the experts. They should be the ones going in with a plan in mind to where, if a criminal is trying to do something, at least you're 2-3 steps ahead to know how to solve this situation in a timely manner to where it's not going to be any shame brought to your government. I have yet to see any of these folks that have been brought to book from the WIA administration. There's no strategy put in place. If you ask them, even with the sanctions that were put on WIA's officials by the American government, there's still no evidence on how you're going to go ahead and prosecute some of these individuals. To my knowledge, at least, there's no evidence that's been brought forth by this government to prosecute the likes of the former Minister of Finance and all those others that were booked for having quote unquote improprieties when it comes to how they carry themselves within their offices. So government is all about trying to tout that thing of that they're the experts, but there's no true expertise being put into practice. So at this end, I don't really understand what the fight of corruption is going to do. If it's just another talking point that was added to this agenda for overall just clout, for overall points to be earned along the way, but no true agenda to be put in place on how they're going to go ahead and tackle this big thing that's been going on for many years in many governments, corruption. People walk away with a slap on the wrist. There's no one held accountable for anything because there's no evidence on the books. There's no set way of how they're going to go ahead and face these issues and share the information with the people in the courts to make sure that this person is not just left to go scot-free and go along with their merry way, but they're actually going to be able to serve time. I don't see it with the Assets Recovery Team. I don't see it with LACC. I don't see it with a lot of these different groups that have been set up or commissions that have been set up. It's just smoke and mirrors more and more each day. Corruption.
Let me make a point.
Like Mr. Boakai.
And then also when it comes to these suspensions, it's like you suspend the people, but then we don't hear anything afterwards about where they are within this quote unquote investigation that the LACC has done. What's the findings? A suspension from what we are now seeing is now a termination. You're giving these people the ability to walk away without being put under the microscope to be ridiculed by the public and shamed by the public and letting the public know that this person was indeed a criminal. But you're giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying that they're suspended or not suspended, that they're suspended, but there's no true firing or termination of this agreement for them to come on and work for your government. There needs to be true findings produced to where this person will be brought to book. I don't see it being done. It's all about suspension, and then the suspension is turned into termination, but there's nothing that we can actually say this person really did for sure, because nobody's doing the true fact-finding piece of it.
Thank you. And Mr. Boakai, Mr. Ducle, I should say, we can't just pretend that, nothing went wrong. A lot of things went wrong. And we have a government that needs to be responsible and have a strategy and a plan to really double check these things and bring the facts so that there can be accountability. What we see is they just put on a show to deceive us that they are serious about fighting corruption. And at the end of the day, when it does settle, that's the end. And that is why we are having people, behaving so bad in government, because we have not actually nailed anybody seriously. I mean, if you come to think about it, Konyene has been writing extensively on the money that's been put in the budget for covert operation at NSA. If you go just 12 years back, we're talking about around $300 million or $200 million gone to that one agency. What is the evidence? What is the impact this money had made? And then we're talking about former First Lady getting budget for 6 years in our national allotment in our budget for 6 years. And what is the audit? All right. So we can't pretend that nothing happened, but I'm not sure we have a government that is thorough, all right, about conducting investigation that will come to a conclusive and logical conclusion so that a deterrent can be served. It's just political noise. How can we get that? Can we get it from this government? Or, of course, we didn't get it from the previous government. Can we get it from this government?
Well, the short answer is no. But you have to put this into context. And I mean both in the public and the private sector. As far as I can remember, during the 12 years of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government, there were lots of corruption cases that were brought up. And the common thing that was done, it was always to set up a committee to look into it. We never heard the reports of those committees. We never heard what happened to those perpetrators or the alleged, perpetrators of those crime, of those corruption. Remember, this is the same Unity Party that was in power when Joseph Boakai was vice president for 12 years. Now, and the reason why I said private and public sector, we do have an individual on this panel right here who happened to work for an agency that didn't pay him. He took his matter to the court. The court ruled in his favor. Until to this date, he did not see a dime of what he was rightly owed. So there is a culture of impunity that have now festered into, the impunity has been elevated to an industrial scale. It's just, you can't explain it. Look, these people come to these positions thinking that they're entitled to do these things that they do. And what really encourages them to do that, the laws are not deterring. The government of the day does not have, the rigor that they need to pursue these cases. And you have a corrupt justice system that anybody can buy their way out. And so, even if somebody is found guilty, can anybody tell me one, and I mean one, O-N-E, one example of where somebody was charged for corruption, they went to court, and some of the money was recovered? There's no track record of any of the government, from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to the CDC to now the Unity Party again. There's no record of where the government pursues somebody for corruption and they were able to recover a penny. And I use my brother's case here as an example. That it's not only in the public sector, even in the private sector, because the culture that we have now is such that even lawyers in the private sector, lawyers who are in charge, when somebody wants something and the money is put in a trust account, the lawyer embezzles the money in the trust account. Regular lawyers. We heard that so many times in Liberia. The culture is such that, Anthony, that you need somebody, a leader, who wants to do the unorthodox. And I usually use this term because, I shouldn't even be saying this, but because of the way things have gone so whack, go to the National Port Authority, the managing director has duped some investor with I don't know how much it was. You come to the LTA, Abdullah Kamara, as a matter of fact, his replacement is now on the job. And we don't know what the government is doing with that case. We just hear about all these cases here, corruption here, they suspended here. And then what? And trust me, the former Minister of Finance, he had his court in days, his days in court a couple of days ago. But at the end of the day, is the government going to be able to recoup any of the funds that this guy is alleged to have stolen? I don't think so, because it's not part of the culture. It's not part of what we do. Since the cessation of hostility, we started this thing that we want to do it by ourselves. We said the ruling party government was not doing this, doing it. Now we want to do it, and we have now shown that we are capable of doing it. Even though all the things that we talk about here is all on the books, all the laws are on the books. But what's the good of the law when they are not being applied? What's the good of the law when they are not deterring people from stealing public funds? So this culture is not only in the public sector, it's also prevalent in the public sector, in the private sector. So we have now come as a people, we have come to internalize this way of doing things as normal. And so people are not afraid anymore to steal money because they know, you know what? Just look at how when one government is leaving office, one of the things they fight for vehicles, government vehicles. They don't want to return vehicles to the government because they feel as if these vehicles are theirs. But because of the way we have come to establish this way of doing things, people have come to once you're leaving your office, you think that you're entitled to that vehicle, even though it's a government property. But I mean, has anyone vehicle has been taken from them and given the GSA? No. And so people find all kinds of ways to do this. So and I don't want anybody to count on Joseph Boakai government to be any different from Ellen Johnson state government and to be any different from CDC Georgia
Thank
US
you.
government. So, Mr. Anthony, to answer your question, we are going nowhere with this.
Thank you. Thank you. And I really don't want us to go anywhere. We have a government that has all the powers. It has all the institution, to make it happen. We want them to do it. If they can't do it, then let them get out of the way. We don't have time to waste here. People are suffering, man. People are hurting, and I don't know of anybody in government now who did not go through tough time, and they are well paid. They have all the facilities that they need, and they have cars, and I don't know why they are not really working as hard as they should, given the dire economic situations and constraints of people. These are things they see every day, especially the rainy season now. They can feel it, they can see it. They are driving in their cars and see somebody, sitting right by the road, practically in the water. All right. And I don't see any sense of urgency. And it's not just this government, it has just been like that, and it's sad. But gentlemen, we have to conclude the debate. Time is fast spent. Each of you will have 30 seconds to conclude. We talk about the president's visit and the fight against corruption. Let's start with you, Mr. Miguel. 30 seconds to close on the two subjects.
Well, I just want to say the opportunity extended to the Liberian government, the Liberian people, in the interest of our national priority. We're asking the government and the president to be able to channel our pride, our relationship, to get us back into good book with the United States and to do the right things when the United States support us and commit to being transparent and accountable to the Liberian people, ensuring that the Liberian people get the basic need, as Leo said, the water, I mean, all of our basic needs. And with corruption, let's look at the strategy around Roland when he came to power. Ghana was completely a whole different strategy, a whole different ball game. We're not immune to that. There'll be drastic steps taken and serious mind and be serious about it and not bend the rules when it comes to who know you or who it is. On this note, I want to say Liberia is for all of us, and we have to make Liberia better to be the place that we want to see the change that we want.
Thank you. Mr. Gibson, you're closing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sia, for having me on the panel tonight. Thank you to all that were on the panel. I really enjoyed the discussion. An overarching theme that I want to say that I have come up with for this is the saying of fail to plan, plan to fail. I think what we are seeing at this time is an old age situation Liberia has found itself in time and time again with each administration that has come to power. There is no plan, whether it's dealing with our diplomatic partners and engaging and changing the minds and innovative ideas being brought to the table. We have yet to see that. There is a need for proper strategy and proper planning to occur for Liberia to truly walk away from any conversation with quote unquote fruits of their labor to be brought back to the shores of Liberia. That is a need for that. Secondly, when it comes to the fight against corruption, again, there's always a need for plan. A lot of administrations who have successfully gotten to the helm of power have always had corruption, the fight against corruption within their overall agenda. That's been the major agenda item. but we have yet to see anyone successfully tackle what is corruption. And that is because no one has actually come with a true plan, and people have protected their own. Because if you look at the linkages, someone who is now sitting in that seat, quote unquote, to make the decisions was also involved in the corruption scandals of the past. So you're going to be caught within that web. There needs to be a plan all around with how administrations come in to deal with corruption, and also with the diplomatic partners that we see ourselves interfacing within day in and day out. And it is my hope that this is something that will change over time. Of course, it won't change overnight, but this is a conversation that needs to be had, that there must be a plan of action for everything that involves Liberia. If you are sitting at the table, a plan must first be put in place and articulated to the people who will be in the rooms, the people who will be benefiting from said discussion. Thank you all so much for the time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And Mr. Dukley, guys, observe the time, 30 seconds to close on the two subjects, President Boakai's invitation to the U.S. and also his fight against corruption. Mr. Dukley, you're closing.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you to my fellow panelists. It was a good debate. You know, I don't see, anything beyond, the present period.
Can you raise your voice a little bit?
Hello, is that better?
Yeah, it's better now.
He's going to come and he's going to meet Donald Trump in the White House. I just hope that there is more to this visit than what they are telling us or what we are hearing from the media, so that at least they can have something, if nothing at all, to say, here's what we have done in this, for the Liberian people, But with that said, I'm not really hopeful. I was one of those when Joseph Boakai Unity Party was first elected. I said I was cautiously optimistic, of what he was going to do. But now I have absolutely no illusion that anything significant is going to be done. I don't think it's going to make any significant dent in the corruption that is going right now. If anything at all, things are going to get worse than what we are seeing right now. I mean, it's unfortunate that I would sound like this, but I think all indications are that he's not capable of making a significant dent in this corruption. But we are going to continue doing what we are doing on this particular forum. We're going to continue to educate the Liberian people, and we'll continue to speak up. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Freeman, Attorney Freeman, you're closing.
Yeah, when it comes to going to the White House, the most Liberia will get from there is development aid. But private sector investment is a whole different ball game. Private sector investment chases profits. And while making that profit, they want to make sure that the investments are protected. They don't come there for diplomatic reasons. I'm sorry. If they could come there for diplomatic reasons, Liberia has been one of the champions of diplomacy since 1847. Liberia will be well developed today. Private sector investment does not come to a country because of diplomacy. They come there because there is profit to be made. And when there is no profit to be made, they're not going to come. Regarding corruption, look, you can sugarcoat it any way you want. Sugarcoat it, make it low fine, but the only way to solve the problem in corruption in Liberia, investigate, prosecute, convict, and confiscate. Boakai is not investigating, he's not prosecuting, he's not confiscating. So how is he going to solve the corruption problem? So it's just the same lip service, the same sugarcoating, and that is why Liberia is underdeveloped today. And if we believe that we can solve this problem without solving the corruption problem, that somehow we can have a leaking bucket and we will fill that bucket with water, good luck. But I'm saying we have to prevent the leakages in the financial system. That's the only way you will accumulate money to foster development. That's the only way.
Thank you. Mr. Leo Johnson, you got the last word, sir.
Yeah, I would say it. Whether it's President Trump or is Xi Jinping or is any of the major world leaders or any opportunities, people with money or people with resources that want to engage at that level, whether it's business, whether it's even aid or whatever that is, look for robust innovations and opportunities. Unless they want to be corrupt or unless they want to package you in a certain way, if they genuinely want to be engaged, they want to. And I believe, unfortunately, we have not done the work in Liberia to make the case, because we are not making the case in isolation. We are competing with other countries. We're competing with the Botswanas, the Ghanas of the world, and all these other places. So for me, I think it will be another space that opportunities will come out of. I'm not so sure we'll be ready to take advantage of it. Again, we'll watch and see, because I don't know what's going to unfold in the meetings. So I don't want to sit here and pretend like I can predict the outcomes. The other piece on corruption issue, Anthony, I don't know why we keep focusing on these people being arrested. So let me put it to you today this way. Having people selling in real market and Douala market, saying nothing where we're not able to count them today to provide them better services in those markets is corruption. Having the entire country living in a slum, including all the ministers, all the lawmakers, all of them living in a slum, the entire Republic of Liberia is a slum. It's corruption. Having a squatters market at the president's house junction, where you must drive with presidential guests, VIPs and diplomats through a squatters market where you can stand there, take right and chunk in the president yard. It's corruption. Having schools like Tottenham High right in the heart of Monrovia that is rotting in mold, no proper latrine facilities. I'm sorry, it's corruption. Having a hospital that we must be donating hospital beds to. Individuals must be praising themselves. Individual government officials must go there to be donating hospital beds, donating hospital supplies. Lawmakers are donating personal medication and doing press releases with it to show that they are good people. It's absolute corruption. Having a country with no public transport system, but lawmakers can get up to $4 million every 2-3 years to renew $40,000 car each. But there is no public transportation for the late child that gets hit by pain in the morning trying to get to school because there is no safe public transportation. It's absolute corruption. Having a country that the healthcare system has been run bare, but government officials can afford top dollars to fly out of the country to get treatment to simple preventative illnesses. It's corruption. So if we really want to fight corruption, it doesn't have to be about chasing the guys that are stealing in offices, because when you set the foundation in place, your chances for raising good leaders who will not see corruption as the way out increases, and your chances of replacing one generation of corrupt people with a different type of generation increases. But if you're only waiting for the corrupt people to come to government before you can chase them down or elevate them, we're wasting our time, to the point where even the nightclubs are corrupt, to the point where the churches are corrupt. But no, we won't ask for the financial report from the government, but when you ask for the audited financial from the church, they say you can't threaten the man of God or the woman of God or whoever, to the point where churches are not even licensed. People are playing with people's souls. So for me, I would say this is just the symptoms, and you don't solve a problem by attacking the symptom. You solve a problem by going to the source. If somebody got malaria, you don't solve a problem by only treating the malaria. You go to the filtered neighborhood and the dirty drinking water that is using to get the malaria to resolve it too, or else they will just go back to the host of the disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. And tomorrow here, I focus on Liberia on our program, FOL Marketplace, the economic value and management of seaports, will be on this network by 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss it. The economic value and management of seaports, I think, in Liberia. Also, tomorrow, Dr. Patricia Jebda Wesley, a poet and educator for decades, all right, will be here with our own Priscilla, who will be hosting on the program, The New Day. You don't want to miss it. This show will be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 2 p.m. GMT. You do not want to miss it here at Focus on Liberia. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for the spirited debate. At the beginning, I would say you sharpen the contradictions. And I want to commend you for honoring our invitation and coming here and making this national contribution. This is how we come to the end of this Friday night debate. Join us next Friday for another edition of Friday Night Debate. We will end with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether or not President Boakai goes by with nothing in his pocket, we will still remain Liberians. And whether or not they fight corruption or not, we'll still be struggling. But that is why they must fight corruption. Thank you, guys, and bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our